Ladies and gentlemen, I can't even begin to describe the utter shock and disgust that washed over me when I witnessed that horrifying surveillance video. Breaking news: it shows an Indiana high school teacher, of all people, approaching a student with an air of authority, seemingly to reprimand him, and then, brace yourselves, slapping him so ferociously that the poor kid's head slams into the wall. Seconds later, he collapses in agony. I mean, this is beyond comprehension. And what was the supposed reason behind this brutal act? Officials say it was because the student was wearing a hoodie to class. Are you kidding me? We're talking about slapping a child unconscious just because of a piece of clothing. This is not just unacceptable, it's an outrage, plain and simple. Michael Hozinski, a 61-year-old teacher at Jimtown High School in Elkhart, has been arrested on a preliminary charge of battery, and rightfully so. And guess what? He's been fired after 4 decades on the job. But let me tell you, my friends, that's not enough. This is an abhorrent breach of trust. During the trial, the state labeled this case as very troubling on a lot of fronts. You bet it is. If the victim had been younger, this incident would have been a felony. But regardless of the victim's age, this is an outrageous breach of the teacher's duty of care and responsibility. The court accepted a plea agreement, and Hozinski entered a guilty plea. And what's the punishment for his horrific actions? He gets a slap on the wrist, a 1-year prison sentence suspended to 1 year of probation. I'm sorry, but that's just not justice for the severity of the crime. We need to demand better for our children. We entrust our educators with the invaluable responsibility of shaping young minds and ensuring their safety. What happened here was not only inappropriate, but it was an egregious betrayal of that trust. This incident raises glaring concerns about the safety of our schools and the accountability of those in positions of authority. It's high time we hold our educators to the highest standard, and it's high time we protect our students from any form of abuse, be it physical or emotional. This case should serve as a glaring wake-up call to schools everywhere. No one, absolutely no one, is above the law, and our children's well-being should always be the paramount concern. We must demand change and insist on better for our kids.
Hozinski was arrested on the preliminary charge of battery and fired after 4 decades on the job.
Seriously, folks, this is not just abhorrently disgraceful, it's a stain on the very fabric of our education system. Anybody out there trying to side with the teacher needs a reality check, and I'll say it straight up. They'd change their tune in the blink of an eye if it were their own child subjected to such brutality. There's not a single plausible argument that can even begin to justify this heinous act. It's plain unacceptable, and let's be crystal clear here, teachers are the ones who, when we were mere children in elementary school, repeatedly drilled into our impressionable minds the idea of keeping our hands, feet, and other objects to ourselves. Yet here we have a teacher who couldn't even abide by the very principles they themselves taught us. It's an unforgivable betrayal of trust. And when you've reached the point where you believe it's acceptable to lay your hands on a child, then it's high time for you to quit the job because you've lost the patience, compassion, and professionalism required to be an educator. And all of this commotion over a hoodie? Seriously? It's mind-boggling. This teacher must have some deep-seated psychological issues to resort to violence over something as trivial as a piece of clothing. It's an outrage. Let me make this perfectly clear. That's pretty messed up, folks. The student didn't even get physical with the teacher. He simply walked out. There was absolutely no justification for the use of force in this situation, none whatsoever. It's revolting that the school didn't call the police, but instead, they handed this child abuser an early retirement package. These are the people entrusted with our children's safety and education, and it's beyond disturbing to see how this situation was mishandled. I want to emphasize this point with all the intensity I can muster. It doesn't matter what's going on. No adult shall put their hands on any student, period. Our children are not punching bags for frustrated teachers, and we, as a society, should never tolerate such despicable behavior. It's high time we raise our voices, demand accountability, and protect the well-being of our children in every educational institution. This is a line that should never, under any circumstances, be crossed. I want to dive deeper into this, folks. I want to dissect the layers of this utterly disturbing incident. So, I ask you again, Is there any conceivable scenario where what this teacher did is remotely justifiable? I'm opening up the floor to you, our valued listeners. Your insights, your opinions, they matter immensely. We want to know what you think about this heart-wrenching situation, and we encourage you to share your thoughts with us. As we delve into the depths of this incident, we must remember that it's not just a single isolated case. It's indicative of a broader issue, one that concerns the safety and well-being of our children in schools. We cannot let such incidents fade into the background. They deserve our unwavering attention. Our collective voices can be a force for change, and this is an opportunity for all of us to rally together. Before we move on, I want to emphasize the gravity of this situation. We're not merely recounting news, we're discussing a matter that affects the lives of our children, the very future of our society. It's a solemn reminder that we must take every opportunity to stand up for what's right and protect our most vulnerable. So please, let us know your thoughts. Your perspectives are invaluable, and they contribute to the larger conversation. And now, it's time for a red alert. The stories we bring you, the discussions we engage in, they all depend on your support. We don't just want you to listen, we want you to be part of this movement for change. The truth deserves to be heard, and justice must be served. By liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel, you become an integral part of this mission. Together, we can amplify our message and ensure that these critical issues are addressed. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. Your voices, your engagement, they hold tremendous power. As we sign off, remember that your actions can influence the course of events. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and, above all, stand up for what's right. This is Red Alert, signing off and urging you to be the change you wish to see in the world.